Hey everyone, good evening. It's a little late for me, but I wanted to jump on tonight and talk a little bit more about atomic habits. So I talked about this, I think it was last night or the night before, but I wanted to touch on a couple more points from this book. So this is a book by James Clear. It's a great read, it's an easy read, and it's got some really concrete things that you can do in your life to create these atomic habits. And just a couple of things I wanted to touch on that I didn't touch on the first time I talked about the book, because I was looking back through my notes on the book and everything. But it's about creating a habit, obviously. And a habit is a behavior that's been repeated, but then becomes automatic. So it's how do we create those automatic behaviors in our life so we don't have to think about it, because then that frees up our cognitive ability to think about other things. And really building habits in the present allows you to do more of what you want in the future. So think about habits that you've built over your life and how they've helped you in the future. Because obviously you're building them for now, but then it frees up. Again, it frees up your time because you're not focusing on, okay, I got to get this done today. I got to get this done today. I got to get this done today. It just becomes a natural thing, right? But I wanted to talk about a couple of specific chapters now that really struck me. And one of them, the chapter is called Walk Slowly But Never Backwards. And it's kind of a powerful thing, because I always say, you always hear about the hare versus the tortoise. And it's like the tortoise ends up winning because the tortoise continues to slowly move forward, slowly move forward, slowly move forward, slowly move forward, versus the hare is like all over the place. He's, racing forward, racing backwards, like what's going on. And it's always about that slow movement forward. And, they give an example of like a photographer and, or a photography company, and they take a ton of photos. So it's all the, like say 100 photos. And they're all about like capturing that best shot, but they take a lot of photos versus someone that's really taking, like, they're deliberate and they're trying to get that perfect shot, but maybe they take 10 photos and then they're just trying to perfect that one shot. So it's the quantity which still gets the job done and maybe more effectively and efficiently, versus the quality of, hey, I'm going for perfection. And then you get hung up on perfection, because a lot of times it's simply action. Like, we need to take action. And that's probably one of the biggest things in creating new habits, is you have to continue to take action and have to continue to move forward, even if it's slowly and deliberately. And that's probably one of the biggest things I would stress. And I would stress it in entrepreneurship as well. And that's why I'm putting this out to business owners, really saying it to business owners, because it's so important to continue to take action, even if it's small, deliberate steps. Because if you're not doing that, eventually it's just going to collapse. So continuing to take action, and don't feel like you have to have the best approach. This was me early in my career, is like, okay, I had to figure out like what was the best way to do something, instead of like, let me take action and then figure out after that where I need to go with it, right? So it's not about the best approach, but it's taking those small steps, because a lot of times the approach is going to unfold before you when you take those small steps, and you start taking those small steps and you continue taking those small steps. So my advice, and obviously James Clear's advice in Atomic Habits, is continue to take those small steps forward, even if it's a microscopic step. Like, that's better than no step at all, right? And then, motion versus action, it's always about, and James Clear gives the example of, someone that comes to the gym, but then they don't actually work out. You have to get to the gym, which is the first step. And maybe you talk to the personal trainer, but you don't actually hire the personal trainer to move forward. So you've taken a motion, but you're not really taking action. So really defining your habits about, are you just taking motion? Are you in motion, but you're not taking the actual action? And you have to really stop and think sometimes. I have to stop and think sometimes and just kind of check myself and like, am I really taking action? If I say you want to lose 5 pounds, because this weight loss is always an easy thing in the beginning of the year. Am I taking action to do that? Am I exercising? Am I eating more healthy? Am I drinking a lot of water? Am I getting enough sleep? All those things fall into the action piece and not just being in motion. And then the second chapter I wanted to talk on is the downside of creating good habits, because there is a downside, which is kind of interesting that he brings it up. Excuse me, my dogs are barking in the background. But there is a downside, because sometimes we can get comfortable in our habits and not continue to excel. So if you think about a professional athlete, they're continuing to excel, the top of their game, like the ones that are at the top of their game, the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants. Think about the football players that are continuing to excel. All those people are continuing to excel. So they're making those habits, but say the season ends and they're moving, they go to off season. I mean, if you've read some of the books about a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant, they don't really take a lot of break, and they didn't take that big break in the off season. They continued to work out and improve what they were doing in the off season to take that next step, to get better, to really excel. So when they came to the next season, they were even better than before. So it's that year over year progress. So if you look at the sports teams that are, winning back to back, how do they improve? So they're this, here's the first one. So you looked at Michael Jordan and you looked at his six, and it went all in rows, 3 and 3, but those were always improving. It wasn't like they stayed the same, because these other teams were gunning for them, right? And then the other thing that struck me in what he was saying in this chapter is the tighter we cling to an identity, the harder it is to overcome it. So sometimes habits no longer serve us, right? So sometimes it's time to move on from our habits. And we have to really discern, does this specific habit continue to serve us? Because the world's always changing. We're always changing, right? So how do we discern that? And how do we discern if this habit is continuing to serve us? Because we don't want to just do habits because, hey, I've done it for the last 5 years. I go to the gym every day. Is that continuing to serve you? Because at a certain point, you don't need to continue to go. I mean, at a certain point, it's maintenance, right? So going to the gym 7 days a week really doesn't do that much more for you. At that point, you can maintain what you have, going to the gym less, and maybe you can use that time to do something else. But the main thing and the biggest thing he talks about in his conclusion is there's no finish line. There's no finish line. So, and this is the same in business too. Like, there is no finish line in business, right? I mean, if you're a solopreneur and you're just starting out in business, guess what? Your main goal may be to like bring in 50,000 that first year, but then you hit that goal, right? And is that the finish line? Is that all you want to do the rest of your career? Probably not. Most entrepreneurs want to keep improving. They want to keep helping more people, in whatever they're doing, what their service is, or selling more of their product to help more people. I mean, there's always that improvement to make the bigger impact. And that's why there's no finish line. And that's why, like, tweaking your habits and really looking at how can we continue to improve, how can we continue to keep moving forward is so imperative. So definitely, this is a great time to read this book. I'm trying to get it above there. James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. I read it again, I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but I read it a while back. I just kind of reviewed my notes in it, and I think I might read it again at some point soon. but it's a great time because the beginning of the year, and most people are trying to, hopefully you're not doing the New Year's resolution thing, but you're trying to improve what you did from last year to this year. So this is a great book to help you start off right, help you continue to move forward and push towards whatever your dream is, personally or professionally. Remember, habits are just as important in business as they are personally. So hopefully that was helpful. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and I look forward to speaking with you again tomorrow. Bye for now.